This little girl was just born a few minutes ago, but when she saw the doctor's face, she was able to throw a punch that made the doctor faint on the spot. When she grew up and helped her parents with farming, she even carried the plow, scaring the goat away. Although Bong-Soon has done many different jobs to make a living, she still hasn't found a suitable job. So currently, Bong-Soon is still dependent on her parents. One day, when Bong-Soon was walking on the street, she saw a man being bullied by a thug. Immediately, Bong-Soon fulfilled her responsibility as a good citizen. Bong-Soon called the police. Unexpectedly, the thug's accomplice snatched Bong-Soon's phone. He threw it hard on the ground. He also slapped and threatened to beat Bong-Soon. Bong-Soon was so angry that she went crazy. She took a deep breath and slapped him so hard that his teeth flew out. The thugs saw this but were still not afraid. They even rushed forward to attack Bong-Soon. But before the other two subordinates could do anything, Bong-Soon had already punched each of them. They flew 10 meters away. After Bong-Soon finished off the three thugs, she went to demand compensation from the last thug. The two shook hands, but it was unclear what Bong-Soon had done that the thug had broken all 5 fingers. It seemed like everything was over when suddenly a fearless man came forward. This time, Bong-Soon threw him up high. She rewarded him with a trip to the galaxy with no return date. The children on the bus saw this and clapped their hands vigorously for Bong-Soon. They saw Bong-Soon as a superhero. The scene before their eyes made Min-hyuk, who was passing by, stare in amazement. After the fight just now, everyone was taken to the police station to report the incident. Standing in front of the police station, Bong-Soon calmly combed her hair before walking in. It turns out that the person interrogating Bong-Soon is her childhood best friend, Guk-doo. At the same time, Guk-doo is also Bong-Soon's current crush. Bong-Soon is being accused of intentional injury, but fortunately, Min-hyuk appeared and saved her. Min-hyuk said that the thugs had injured themselves in a fight, and of course, the police would believe the words of a good citizen. Thanks to that, Bong-Soon was released. When Bong-Soon and Min-hyuk had just left the police station, the two met again. Min-hyuk asked Bong-Soon to thank him, but Bong-Soon questioned why he lied to the police, and Bong-Soon did not force him to do so. Hearing that, Min-hyuk felt confused, but he still felt that she exuded a deadly charm. After the thugs were wrongly convicted, they were taken to the hospital for treatment. Their injuries surprised the doctors and interns. They have lived in this world for decades, but they have never encountered such a special case. Among them is Bong-Soon's younger brother Bong-ki. Bong-ki knew at first glance that this was his sister's masterpiece. The first time Bong-ki discovered that his sister had extraordinary powers, he was so surprised that he couldn't keep his mouth shut. It was a day when it was neither rain nor sun. Bong-ki and Bong-Soon were kidnapped by a bad guy. At that time, Bong-ki was so scared that he peed his pants. The kidnapper saw that and cursed the two sisters. Bong-Soon got angry when she heard that. She kicked the car door open and led her younger brother away. The kidnapper quickly recovered and chased after them. But no matter how fast he ran, he still had to fall before Bong-Soon's strength. The kidnapper immediately got in the car and tried to hit the two children. Unexpectedly, Bong-Soon used only one hand to stop the car. In contrast to Bong-Soon's fearless attitude, Min-hyuk is always threatened by unknown people. Because Min-hyuk is the CEO of a famous software company, Min-hyuk really wants to find a bodyguard to protect him. After Min-hyuk has looked through countless applications, he suddenly remembers Bong-Soon's strong appearance that day. After many days of searching, Min-hyuk finally succeeded in finding Bong-Soon. Bong-Soon and Min-hyuk's assistant made an appointment to meet at a coffee shop. Here, the two will discuss the details of the job. At first, Bong-Soon thought that this was a scam, so she intended to leave. However, when Bong-Soon heard the money in the company name, she immediately changed her attitude and hurriedly accepted the job. The next day, Bong-Soon came to see Min-hyuk to receive the job. To confirm that he was not mistaken that day, Min-hyuk decided to test Bong-Soon with a test. First was the arm wrestling category. Although Bong-Soon had warned him in advance and let Min-hyuk using both hands, Min-hyuk still lost to this little girl because he was too embarrassed. Min-hyuk gave the contract to Bong-Soon to sign. Although the contract had been signed, Min-hyuk still asked his assistant to play cockfighting with Bong-Soon. Min-hyuk's purpose was to have someone as embarrassed as him. At first, the assistant shyly refused the offer, but when Min-hyuk promised to give the assistant car if he won, the assistant immediately agreed. To ensure the assistant's safety, Min-hyuk ordered food to nourish him. Min-hyuk also bought the shipper's helmet for the assistant. The fight ended in less than 10 seconds. Bong-Soon only lightly impacted the assistant, and he flew 10 meters away. He was hit against the wall and had to be hospitalized immediately. The next day, Bong-Soon performed her duty as a bodyguard, which was to always follow her master. However, this bodyguard kept disobeying her master. When Min-hyuk asked Bong-Soon to check the car, she was dissatisfied. Bong-Soon even intended to sit in the back seat. She considered her master as a driver. Min-hyuk had to call her for a long time before she agreed to sit in the back seat. The two went shopping together. Now Bong-Soon not only did the job of a bodyguard, but she also had to carry things for Min-hyuk. When Min-hyuk saw Bong-Soon struggling to carry things, he promised to reward her with a special gift gift. This promise made Bong-Soo look forward to it. However, the gift was an ice cream. Finally, Bong-Soo was able to leave work early after a tiring day of work. When the two of them had just arrived at the gate of the neighborhood, Min-hyuk asks for cake. Bong-Soo heard that and immediately took him to her bakery. That way, she could earn money and complete her mission. Bong-Soo's parents were surprised to see their daughter bringing her boyfriend to the store for the first time. Bong-Soo signaled for the two to calm down. The neighbors were very excited when they saw Min-hyuk's car. They kept looking to confirm whether Min-hyuk was Bong-Soo's boyfriend or not. When Bong-Soo just got home, her mother couldn't hold back and asked about the person she brought home. The mother asked about the other person's name, family background, and parents. The mother even urged Bong-Soo to marry him. To avoid questioning from her mother and others, Bong-Soo immediately said that Min-hyuk was gay. This answer surprised the mother for a moment, but then she gradually accepted truth. The mother told Bong-Soo that even if Min-hyuk was gay, Bong-Soo's mother would let her daughter marry him. The mother's words shocked Bong-Soo so much that she dropped her chopsticks. To avoid her mother's pressure to get married, Bong-Soo went out to play games with her best friend. On the way home, Bong-Soo accidentally encountered a group of students bullying another student. When she saw the scene, Bong-Soo only intended to gently remind them, but they ignored her words. They even chased her away like a dog. Bong-Soo had to teach the students a lesson. She gently bent down to tie a student's shoelaces, then she conveniently tore the shoes. It was a very gentle lesson compared to the thugs the day before. The students were extremely scared when they saw that. They promised to change and not bully anyone anymore. Recently, in the neighborhood where Bong-Soo lives, there have been many serious crimes. The perpetrators have followed and murdered beautiful girls. Only 2 days have passed and 2 young girls have been attacked. One has died, the other is dying in the hospital. After the second girl was admitted to the hospital, Guk-doo was responsible for guarding and protecting the witness. Coincidentally, Bong-Soo also went to visit his assistant in the hospital today. Bong-Soo and Guk-doo met by chance and chatted for a while. Afterwards, Guk-doo asked Bong-Soo to look after the witness while he went to buy a bottle of water. As soon as Guk-doo finished speaking, the murderer took advantage of the situation and kidnapped the witness. Although Guk-doo and Bong-Soo tried to chase, the murderer was so fast that they lost track of him. However, Bong-Soo heard the murderer's voice, so she became an important witness. Therefore, Bong-Soo will be protected by the police at all times. The next day, Bong-Soo brought the police elder brother to work. Min-hyuk saw this situation and was helpless. Afterwards, the three of them went to the conference together. Bong-Soo looked around for a suspicious person in the crowd, but she still did not find anything. Because Min-hyuk and the police went to the restroom, Bong-Soo had to wait outside. When Min-hyuk just stepped out, a noise suddenly rang out from inside. It turned out that the police officer had been stabbed by someone. After that incident, Min-hyuk became even more vigilant, so he asked Bong-Soo to stay at his house. Bong-Soo heard that and asked for double his salary. Min-hyuk, who was not short of money, agreed immediately. When he got home, Min-hyuk had to cook for Bong-Soo. However, Min-hyuk only knew how to cook instant noodles. Although Bong-Soo was very disappointed in his boss's cooking skills, it was better to have something to eat than to starve. The two of them still ate the noodles deliciously. Because the police officer was injured, this time Guk-doo would temporarily take on the position of witness protection. Guk-doo quickly went to Min-hyuk and tried to take Bong-Soo home. The two men were fighting to get Bong-Soo to their side. Bong-Soo felt awkward witnessing this situation. Finally, Guk-doo decided to call Bong-Soo's mother. If she agreed, Guk-doo would let Bong-Soo stay at Min-hyuk's house. When Bong-Soo's mother heard that her daughter would stay at Min-hyuk's house, she immediately agreed. Hearing that, Guk-doo had to return alone. Bong-Soo had not been at Min-hyuk's house for long, but he had led her toward the secret room. The two of them sat down together to find the suspicious person who had threatened Min-hyuk. When Bong-Soo saw the suspicious person's face, immediately wanted to catch that person, but Min-hyuk immediately stopped Bong-Soo because she had promised to stay at his house tonight. Min-hyuk even boldly suggested that they should sleep in the same room to protect each other. Bong-Soo reluctantly agreed, but Bong-Soo asked Min-hyuk to sleep on the floor while she slept on the most expensive sofa. Because Bong-Soo could not sleep, she invited Min-hyuk to play games with her to help her sleep. Although Min-hyuk is the president of a game software company, he lost miserably to Bong-Soo. He begged her to continue playing so he could have a chance to take revenge, but she left without paying any attention to him. A peaceful night passed. Bong-Soo just woke up to see Min-hyuk lying next to her. Bong-Soo startled Min-hyuk awake. Luckily, Bong-Soo didn't do anything. Otherwise, Min-hyuk would probably die before being attacked by the threat. Because Bong-Soo was staying at his house, she also knew how to cook breakfast on her own. While the two were enjoying breakfast, Min-hyuk suddenly mentioned Guk-doo. Min-hyuk said that he liked Guk-doo's butt. Bong-Soo didn't want to scold Min-hyuk. She just gently pierced the table with a chopstick. Min-hyuk saw that and immediately fell silent. Min-hyuk's hands trembled as he obediently ate. After Min-hyuk and Bong-Soo finished breakfast, the two went to the suspicious person's house together. This time, Min-hyuk was in charge charge of standing guard outside while Bong-Soo went inside to investigate the situation. Bong-Soo pretended to be a neighbor and entered the suspect's house. He saw a small Bong-Soo and immediately teased her. Bong-Soo gently shook his hand off her face, but he suddenly passed out. Bong-Soo immediately apologized and dragged the guy outside for Min-hyuk to handle. When the two were about to drag him to the police station, they met some neighbors coming back from the market, so the two had to take the suspect to the rooftop. At this time, Min-hyuk had the opportunity to take a closer look at the suspect's injuries. Luckily, Bong-Soo was gentle, so the suspect only had a swollen face. Finally, he woke up, but before he could open his eyes for long, Bong-Soo lightly bumped into him, and the suspect passed out again. Bong-Soo immediately ran away, but she was stopped by Min-hyuk in time. A while after the suspect woke up, the two realized that they had arrested the wrong person. Because this person's car was stolen, he could not be the one threatening Min-hyuk. The two quickly untied the arrested person. Then they bowed their heads and apologized for accidentally causing him to faint twice. Next, Bong-Soo and Min-hyuk went to the police station to report police officer's injury. Perhaps the perpetrator was mistaken. He thought the police officer was Min-hyuk's bodyguard, so he attacked him. Guk-doo heard that and asked why Min-hyuk hired a weak girl to be his bodyguard. Min-hyuk heard that and wanted to argue, but Bong-Soo was quicker. Bong-Soo gently placed her foot on Min-hyuk's foot. This action made Min-hyuk so hurt that he could not speak. After the two were proven innocent, they left together with Min-hyuk's injured leg. Because she felt guilty, Bong-Soo took Min-hyuk to the hospital. Min-hyuk was diagnosed with a broken toe bone. Now, the hospital is like Bong-Soo's second home. Wherever Bong-Soo goes, she can meet acquaintances, from the assistant with a broken tailbone to Min-hyuk who just broke his toe bone, and even the thugs who have not recovered from the past. When Bong-ki saw the number of his sister's victims increasing, he felt extremely helpless. When Bong-Soo just heard her brother's complaints, she had to hear that Guk-doo had a lover. Guk-doo even personally took her lover to the hospital. Bong-Soo was sad and left Min-hyuk at the hospital. Meanwhile, Bong-Soo returned home to crack walnuts to relieve her sadness. After Min-hyuk saw Bong-Soo disappear, he immediately called and told her to come take care of him. On this side, the boss of the thugs, after hearing that Bong-Soo appeared at the hospital, immediately wanted to teach her a lesson. Not only did the gangster boss want to deal with Bong-Soo, but even the school boss also wanted to demand justice for his juniors, the male students whose shoes Bong-Soo tore the night before. Bong-Soo was about to go to the hospital to visit Min-hyuk. However, Bong-Soo had not gone a few steps when the school boss blocked her way. While she was sad, Bong-Soo met some guys who wanted to rush to their deaths, so she did not hesitate to lightly hit him a few times. After Bong-Soo carried the school boss like a chicken, she gently put him down on the ground. Then Bong-Soo forced the remaining people to climb onto the Ferris wheel. Bong-sun gently spun around and stood watching, but the bully was dizzy from the spinning. Not only that, he was also forced by Bong-Soo to pick up trash to help society. Within an hour, whoever did not pick up trash would have to take another spin on the Ferris wheel. Finally, Bong-Soo arrived at the hospital to pick up Min-hyuk. When Bong-Soo just stepped out of the hospital room, she fell into the sights of a gangster boss, but he seemed to be afraid of Min-hyuk's identity, so the boss still didn't act. After Bong-Soo injured Min-hyuk, she became his temporary nanny. Bong-Soo had to cook and take Min-hyuk for a walk, but this kind of walk was very strange. When the two had just walked for a while, Min-hyuk was shot and injured by someone. At this time, Bong-Soo didn't care about her image anymore. Bong-Soo intended to pick up Min-hyuk and take him to the war hospital, but Min-hyuk refused to go, so Bong-Soo had to please the victim. Bong-Soo took Min-hyuk home to treat his wound. Fortunately, Min-hyuk's wound wasn't too serious, so Bong-Soo was able to treat it herself and quickly leave. It was rare for Bong-Soo to have a free day, so she decided to go shopping. When Bong-Soo had just stepped out of the store, she was asked to meet the school boss. This time he didn't cause trouble with Bong-Soo anymore. He knelt down and worshipped her. Bong-Soo suddenly had a bunch of disciples, so she didn't think much and immediately agreed and left. When Bong-Soo looked at the other students, she also remembered her high school days. Bong-Soo's high school life was full of turmoil because she constantly vandalized public property. When the whole class went on a field trip, Bong-Soo just lightly touched the rock known as immovable, and it rolled down the mountain. At school, Bong-Soo not only broke the crossbar, but also broke the water faucet. Bong-Soo went to the temple with her mother to pray for luck but failed, so she turned Buddha's face against the wall. Back to the present. One beautiful night when Bong-Soo was about to rest, she received a call from Min-hyuk. Min-hyuk asked Bong-Soo to go out. Bong-Soo used the excuse of going to the movies with friends to refuse, but Min-hyuk demanded to cover the movie ticket as long as Bong-Soo agreed to go out, because she got to watch the movie for free. Bong-Soo brought her best friend and younger brother along. After watching the movie, the four of them went to the bar together. Bong-Soo enthusiastically went on stage to pole dance, but due to the effects of alcohol, Bong-Soo lifted the pole and spun around. This scene surprised and scared everyone. Seeing that, Bong-ki quickly took her sister home. Just waking up from her drunkenness, Bong-Soo was beaten by her mother for being drunk and causing trouble. Suddenly, memories of yesterday came flooding back. When Bong-Soon was under the influence of alcohol, she grabbed Min-hyuk's face and warned him not to dream about Guk-doo's butt anymore, otherwise his butt would disappear. After Bong-Soon recalled everything, she knew she was about to lose her job. Therefore, Bong-Soon immediately called Min-hyuk to ask about his health. Min-hyuk was a generous person, so he didn't take last night's incident to heart. Not only that, Min-hyuk also felt that Bong-Soon was very attractive when drunk. The next day, on Bong-Soon's way to the company, she accidentally bumped into the murderer. After recognizing him, Bong-Soon quickly turned back to look for him, but Bong-Soon once again lost track of that guy. On the subway, Bong-Soon encountered a man who was molesting a girl. Bong-Soon quietly twisted the man's finger behind his back, then she left as if nothing had happened. When Bong-Soon and Min-hyuk went to have breakfast together, she told him about what happened this morning. When Bong-Soon just returned to the company, she was given a surprise gift. It was a princess desk. Along with it was a set of English learning materials for beginners. Perhaps Min-hyuk wanted to train Bong-Soon to become an assistant and bodyguard. Although she didn't want to, Bong-Soon still had to study because the salary after promotion was extremely attractive. Bong-Soon had just run out of the desk when she was chased back to her old place by Min-hyuk. He saw her being so obedient and secretly laughed because Bong-Soon looked so cute. After Bong-Soon made a mess in the bar, the video was posted online and quickly became popular. Bong-Soon felt humiliated and had nowhere to hide, so she had to hide under the table to hide this humiliation. After many days in the hospital to recuperate, Min-hyuk's assistant finally returned to work. As soon as the assistant entered the door, he told Min-hyuk about Bong-Soon's glorious achievements. That was all the information the assistant had heard at the hospital. Although Min-hyuk tried to signal that Bong-Soon was here, the assistant still did not know anything. The assistant still brazenly spoke ill of her right in front of her. It was only when Min-hyuk pointed his finger at Bong-Soon that the assistant realized that he was about to be hospitalized again. The assistant had to turn to look at Min-hyuk with a pleading look. Because Bong-Soon was sad, she temporarily forgave the assistant. She also took the assistant to hand over the work. As soon as Bong-Soon left, Min-hyuk immediately had someone take down all the videos on the internet. Min-hyuk informed Guk-doo that this morning, Bong-Soon had bumped into the murderer. After Guk-doo heard that Bong-Soon had seen the murderer, he rushed to Min-hyuk's company to demand the person. The two fought to take Bong-Soon home, but after they heard Bong-Soon's complacency, they both pushed the responsibility onto the other. In the end, Bong-Soon was taken home by Min-hyuk, and Guk-doo would continue to return to the police station to investigate the case. On this side, the thugs who were beaten were in the hospital, but they still didn't know what to do. The thugs even directly declared that after being discharged from the hospital, the first thing they would do was find Bong-Soon to take revenge. These words were said right in front of Bong-ki. When Bong-ki heard that the thug wanted to take revenge on his sister, he immediately wrapped the thug's face in bandages. Bong-ki only left his eyes for him to see the world. On this side, it seems that the murderer still refuses to stop, even though he is being chased by the police. He is a pervert who specializes in kidnapping and torturing young girls. His goal is to collect 7 beautiful young girls and force the victims to become his wives. The murderer has successfully captured 2 girls. Currently, he is targeting Bong-Soon's friend, Hae-na. One day, Bong-Soon asked his friend to go buy groceries to cook, but Hae-na has been gone for a long time and has not returned. Bong-Soon began to worry. It turns out that Hae-na also realized that someone was following her. Hae-na immediately took out her phone to call Bong-Soon, but the murderer stopped Hae-na. He beat Hae-na and prepared to take her to his lair. Just when the situation became critical, Bong-Soon appeared. Bong-Soon bent the murderer's iron bar and then kicked him, sending him flying several meters away. When the murderer saw that Bong-Soon was too scary, he quickly ran away. Bong-Soon immediately took her friend to the hospital. She then quickly called the police. Guk-doo heard the news and immediately went to the hospital to take a statement, but the situation was not optimistic because the murderer did not show his face. After Guk-doo knew that the murderer had seen Bong-Soon's face, he immediately told Bong-Soon to go to Min-hyuk's house to take refuge for a while. Although Guk-doo did not like Min-hyuk at all because Bong-Soon had to take care of her friend, she asked for a few days off from work, but Min-hyuk still did not know anything. He was still happy to go buy chocolate to give to Bong-Soon, but when Min-hyuk just entered the room, he received the news that Bong-Soon was off work today, so he had to give the chocolate back to his assistant. The assistant was very happy to receive the gift, but the assistant didn't know that he was just a replacement. Guk-doo went to Min-hyuk to talk about Bong-Soon staying at Min-hyuk's house to take refuge for a few days. Min-hyuk quickly agreed when he heard that. The next day, Bong-Soon was escorted to work by Guk-doo. Not only that, Bong-Soon was also praised by Guk-doo for being pretty. Bong-Soon's girlish heart immediately rose strongly. Bong-Soon was like a bird jumping around the room. This scene made Min-hyuk dizzy. While the two were working, the assistant quickly went to Bong-Soon's house to pack her luggage. When Bong-Soon's mother heard that her daughter would come to stay at Min-hyuk's house, she immediately prepared some lingerie for her daughter. The mother quietly put them in Bong-Soo's luggage. When Bong-Soo took out her luggage, she saw the lingerie. At this time, Bong-Soo was extremely embarrassed. Min-hyuk standing next to her also felt awkward, so he immediately returned to his room. At night, Bong-Soo kept thinking about the murderer and found it difficult to sleep. Bong-Soo immediately got up and changed clothes to go out. Bong-Soo decided to use herself as bait. Bong-Soo was determined to catch the murderer. While Bong-Soo was walking, someone grabbed her shoulder. Bong-Soo immediately turned around and realized it was Min-hyuk. It turned out that Min-hyuk couldn't sleep either, so he went out for a walk. When Min-hyuk heard Bong-Soo's crazy plans, he immediately forced her to go home to sleep. When the two of them just got home, Guk-doo rang the doorbell and asked to stay with them. Bong-Soo was extremely happy to hear that. Bong-Soo ignored Min-hyuk's unpleasant attitude and led Guk-doo into the house. Because the family had a new member, everyone had to redistribute sleeping places. The three of them were lost in their own thoughts. Everyone had to find a way to separate the other two, or else something big would happen. After a while of thinking, the three of them decided not to sleep to keep an eye on each other. The two men played games all night. Bong-Soo was not as energetic. If there was a bed here, she would have slept until morning. After the three of them finished playing, they went drinking together. Of course, Bong-Soo just sat and watched. Min-hyuk and Guk-doo competed to see who could drink more alcohol. After the two of them drank a lot of alcohol, they fell asleep on the billiard table. Seeing that, Bong-Soo could only sigh. After looking around, Bong-Soo immediately carried the two of them on her shoulder and took them outside. When Bong-Soo had just left to buy hangover medicine, the other two were searched all over by two thugs. They wanted to take valuables. When Bong-Soo turned back, she saw that the two had searched Guk-doo. Bong-Soo gently told them to return the things, then she would quietly leave and pretend not to know anything. But unexpectedly, a thug who did not know what to do slapped Bong-Soo. So Bong-Soo immediately threw him into the trash can. The teammates saw that and rushed forward with a wooden stick. But before he could touch a strand of Bong-Soo's hair, she had already thrown him back and thrown him away. After the battle, Bong-Soo also successfully brought two boys home. The next day, Bong-Soo woke up early and cooked a sumptuous breakfast for Guk-doo. Min-hyuk sitting next to him was just a freeloader, so he had no right to demand. At the dinner table, Bong-Soo pretended to be weak and couldn't open the jam jar. This shocked Min-hyuk to the point of being speechless. Min-hyuk couldn't believe that Bong-Soo was so weak. After yesterday's fun, Bong-Soo was even more determined to separate the two of them. At this time, Guk-doo and Min-hyuk were very curious. They didn't understand why Bong-Soo did that. At this time, Bong-Soo recounted what they had done after drinking. The two boys were extremely embarrassed after hearing it. Neither dared to look at each other. After the meal, the two continued to search for the suspect who threatened Min-hyuk. After receiving information about the suspect, Bong-Soo immediately dragged Min-hyuk away to arrest that person. On the way, the two encountered another dispute between two cars. Although the woman apologized, the driver still had no intention of letting it go. He even intended to use violence on the woman. Min-hyuk intended to get out of the car to stop it, but when Min-hyuk looked to the side, he realized that Bong-Soo had stepped out at some point. When Bong-Soo was about to act, Min-hyuk quickly got out of the car and successfully chased that person away. The incident was considered to be resolved peacefully. However, when Min-hyuk just turned around, he did not see Bong-Soo. It turned out that Bong-Soo had quickly jumped into that person's car. She was determined to teach him a lesson. Bong-Soo used force to spin the car, making him scream loudly. When Min-hyuk arrived, he saw this terrifying scene. Min-hyuk thought to himself that he would never tease Bong-Soo because he didn't know what surprise gift she would give him. After that, the two went to Min-hyuk's parents' house together. Min-hyuk was recently rumored to be a homosexual, so his father summoned him that night. The father asked Min-hyuk to get married to dispel the rumor. Obviously, Min-hyuk used Bong-Soo as a shield. Min-hyuk grabbed Bong-Soo's hand and told his father that she was his girlfriend and that they were living together. Although a bit surprised, Bong-Soo had no other choice. She could only act out Min-hyuk's play. The next day, for some unknown reason, Min-hyuk woke Bong-Soo up at 6 a.m. Min-hyuk took Bong-Soo to strength control training. First, he took her to fake rock climbing. These tricks were too easy for Bong-Soo. In just a moment, she climbed to the top of the mountain. Min-hyuk and the players beside her were surprised to see that. Then Min-hyuk increased the challenge. He took Bong-Soo to pull the cart. 10 carts were nothing to her. Meanwhile, the kidnapping case had new developments. From Hae-na's testimony, the police quickly sketched out the portrait of the murderer. The police also collected the shoe that the murderer dropped while running away. Bong-Soo was personally questioned by Guk-doo. Bong-Soo said that the murderer smelled strongly of gasoline and asphalt. After Bong-Soo finished taking the testimony, she saw that Guk-doo seemed sad, so she casually asked him. Bong-Soo only wanted to ask for fun, but she knew that Guk-doo had just been dumped by her lover. On top of that, Guk-doo was also cheated on by her. When Bong-Soo heard that, she really wanted to laugh out loud, but she still had to act sad to comfort Guk-doo. At night, when everyone was asleep, two thieves broke into Min-hyuk's house. Bong-Soo woke up to drink water, but she was attacked by a thief holding a pan. Bong-Soo turned her hand into a hammer hammer. She punched hard, causing the pan to dent. At the same time, Min-hyuk was also held to the neck by another thief with a knife. Min-hyuk immediately turned around to fight the thief, but before the two could do anything, the thief was hit on the head by Bong-Soon with a pan and passed out. The two quickly tied the two thieves together. Then they went to sleep to wait for the next morning to interrogate them. Early the next morning, the two were awakened by the phone ringing. It turned out that the caller was the one who hired the two thieves. That person was the mafia boss. What was even more surprising was that he was Min-hyuk's father's former subordinate. After the incident in which his subordinate had his teeth broken, the boss secretly followed Bong-Soon and Min-hyuk's movements. He was always waiting for the opportunity to take revenge. Min-hyuk answered the phone and warned the boss to say the name of the mastermind, otherwise the two subordinate would be punished. After that, Min-hyuk dressed up to go to the family company's announcement. To find the mastermind, Min-hyuk made a video call to Bong-Soon, and everyone there saw the faces of the people who broke into his house yesterday, because Min-hyuk suspected that the person who harmed him was a family member. After threatening the mastermind, Min-hyuk leisurely declared that he would soon find out who that person was. Then he asked his father's permission to end the announcement and left. After the early morning phone call, the gangster boss finally came to see Min-hyuk. He gave Min-hyuk a USB, which contained the truth that Min-hyuk wanted to know. Min-hyuk kept his promise. He would release the two subordinates, and he would also forgive the boss. When the boss was about to leave, he turned back to accuse Min-hyuk of the actions that Bong-Soon had caused to his subordinates. The boss told the story while showing a helpless expression. After that, he also asked Min-hyuk how to lure Bong-Soon to his team. After the boss left, Min-hyuk hurriedly plugged the USB into the computer. Through the information in the USB, Min-hyuk knew that the mastermind was Min-hyuk's second brother. Min-jae was also the person Min-hyuk trusted the most. Min-hyuk did not expect that the person he trusted the most was always the one who wanted to harm him. When Bong-Soon heard that Min-hyuk had found the truth, he immediately ran to share the joy with him. But when Bong-Soon just entered the door, she saw Min-hyuk standing sadly by the window. After knowing the truth, Bong-Soon dragged Min-hyuk out to get some fresh air to relieve his sadness. She took him to the amusement park. Two of them played games that Min-hyuk had never tried before. Min-hyuk also wore a headband with Bong-Soon. After the two of them walked around, they also felt hungry. Because Min-hyuk was sad today, Bong-Soon paid him to go eat at a restaurant that he really liked. This was the first time Min-hyuk had tried pork sausage. At first, Min-hyuk complained and didn't want to eat it, but when Bong-Soon dipped the pork sausage in chili and brought it to Min-hyuk's mouth, Min-hyuk immediately tried it and stopped praising it as delicious. The next day, Min-hyuk lifted his spirits and continued to train Bong-Soon. This time, Min-hyuk gave a more difficult challenge, which was climbing a rope. He thought this challenge would be difficult for Bong-Soon, but unexpectedly, she climbed faster than a monkey. In the blink of an eye, Bong-Soon climbed to the top. After that, Min-hyuk took Bong-Soon to punch a sandbag to train his arm muscles. He thought Bong-Soon would have to spend a long time to complete this challenge, but unexpectedly, the sandbag broke as soon as she touched it. Min-hyuk did not give up and decided to change the sandbag. This time, Min-hyuk personally held the sandbag for Bong-Soon to practice. Min-hyuk advised her to only punch lightly, otherwise he would be punctured like a sandbag. Bong-Soon listened and punched as lightly as possible, but the sandbag still broke. Min-hyuk felt helpless. This time, Min-hyuk decided to confront Bong-Soon himself. The two practiced very hard, but due to carelessness, they fell on top of each other. At this moment, perhaps, the two of them were moved. The final test for Bong-Soon was to practice controlling the strength of her fingers. Min-hyuk and Bong-Soon played chess. Although they tried very hard, every time Bong-Soon flicked a chess piece, an object in Min-hyuk's house was punctured. After many attempts at sabotage, Bong-Soon finally succeeded with the last chess piece. Bong-Soon shouted excitedly, but she accidentally broke the chessboard, worth 200 million won. The next day, Bong-Soon went to the hospital to take care of his friend. At the same time, the murderer also pretended to cause a fire. Then he broke into the room and kidnapped Haina. Just when the murderer was about to inject Haina, Bong-Soon spoke up and wondered. The nurse had just injected the drug. Why did she inject it again now? The murderer realized that the matter was about to be exposed, so he quickly ran away. Bong-Soon and the police also quickly chased after him, but they still lost track of the murderer. After many days of treatment, Thug was discharged from the hospital. He immediately went to Bong-Soon to take revenge. But the Thug, before he could say anything, Guk-doo rushed over and punched him a few times. After that, the Thug was also dragged to the police station to explain. The next day, when Bong-Soon happily went to work, she felt eyes staring at her from behind. It turned out that after the murderer was discovered in the hospital, he remembered Bong-Soon's face. The murderer had been secretly following her, but he had not yet found the right opportunity to strike. Bong-Soon arrived safely at the company. As soon as she entered the room, Bong-Soon saw a computer on her desk. She curiously turned it on and saw Min-hyuk's image. Bong-Soon was scared and turned around, but she saw Min-hyuk standing behind her. It turned out that after the mastermind was arrested, Bong-Soon was promoted to a full-time employee in the planning department, but Bong-Soo still had to work in Min-hyuk's room. The kidnapping case outside was becoming a hot topic of public opinion. 4 people were attacked, of which 3 were successfully kidnapped by the thug. 1 person was lucky to only be slightly injured. That person was Hae-na, Bong-Soo's friend. The case was becoming more concerning than ever. Under pressure from public opinion, the police were also searching day and night for the whereabouts of the murderer, but they still had no positive results. On this side, Bong-Soo is still practicing hard to control his strength. Finally, Bong-Soo has successfully controlled his strength. Bong-Soo no longer punches through the sandbag. Today, Bong-Soo asked for leave to pick up Hae-na from the hospital. When Bong-Soo just brought his friend home, Min-hyuk called and told Bong-Soo to work overtime. Min-hyuk also promised to double the overtime pay. The opportunity to work overtime with such an attractive salary was hard to refuse, so Bong-Soo immediately got up to prepare. At the same time, Min-hyuk went to Bong-Soo's house to pick her up. When Bong-Soo's mother saw her future son-in-law coming, she happily went to the door to welcome him. She also enthusiastically invited Min-hyuk into the house to eat. Seeing that, Min-hyuk was also embarrassed to refuse, so he sat down to eat with Bong-Soo's family. After the meal ended, the two of them went to work overtime together. It turned out that for Min-hyuk, working overtime was just an excuse to change places to eat. The two of them moved to Min-hyuk's father's house to eat because Bong-Soo had a slip of the tongue during the previous meal. Today she also had to pretend to be Min-hyuk's girlfriend. Bong-Soo had to say sweet words to Min-hyuk and skillfully answer his father's questions. The meal went smoothly and ended well. Afterwards, Min-hyuk and Bong-Soo visited his mother's grave together. After that, the two of them went for a walk outside together. Elsewhere, the police successfully obtained a video of the car used by the perpetrator from the dash cam of another car. After Guk-doo watched the video, he immediately went to the junkyard to find the whereabouts of that car. But all the police's actions were seen by the perpetrator. It turned out that after the perpetrator attacked the second victim, he pretended to be a witness and went to the police station. He took the opportunity to install a camera there to monitor the situation. On this side, after the thugs were arrested and taken to the police station, they could no longer endure. The boss immediately summoned his subordinates to a warehouse. Then, he had someone call Bong-Soo to inform her that they had kidnapped her mother and asked her to come immediately. Guk-doo and Min-hyuk, upon hearing the news, immediately turned around and went to that location. Bong-Soo entered the warehouse but did not see her mother. Instead, Bong-Soo only saw a group of thugs preparing to attack him. Bong-Soo put on his hat and was ready to fight. Each thug rushed forward, but they were all beaten up by Bong-Soo. When the boss saw his subordinates fall one by one, he also felt scared, but he still did not stop because of his high pride as a man. After a 100-round battle, his subordinates were lying on the ground. Bong-Soo's hat and shirt had also fallen. At the same time, Min-hyuk arrived in time and saw Bong-Soo's hat fall. Min-hyuk immediately remembered the accident many years ago. At that time, Min-hyuk was on his way to visit his mother's grave when the car suddenly lost control and almost hit a pedestrian. In that dangerous situation, a girl in a pink shirt held the car back. After the accident, Min-hyuk drew a picture of that girl in his wardrobe. Min-hyuk often looked at it whenever he felt scared. Unexpectedly, that girl was Bong-Soo. After Min-hyuk arrived, Guk-doo also appeared. Guk-doo witnessed Bong-Soo using both hands to lift 4 muscular men and throw them against the wall. But things didn't stop there. Bong-Soo also used one hand to throw the table into pieces. She was also preparing to deal with the leader. When Bong-Soo was about to move forward, she was ambushed by a thug holding a knife. Min-hyuk used his body to block the knife for Bong-Soo. Min-hyuk then fainted in Bong-Soo's arms. Luckily, Min-hyuk was taken to the hospital in time. After being stitched up, Min-hyuk woke up. When he opened his eyes, Min-hyuk told Bong-Soo that it was lucky that he was the one who was injured. Then Min-hyuk asked if Bong-Soo was thinking that in his heart, right? After Guk-doo witnessed the scene in the warehouse, he did not seem too surprised. Guk-doo recalled his high school years. Perhaps Bong-Soo had accidentally revealed her power, but Guk-doo did not pay much attention to it until Guk-doo witnessed today's scene. After that, Guk-doo heard Bong-ki tell about Bong-Soo's power. Guk-doo felt regretful for not knowing anything about her, even though the two were close friends. Then Guk-doo sadly returned to the police station. However, Guk-doo received a notice that his team was not allowed to investigate the kidnapping case. But facing the expectations of the victim's family, Guk-doo decided to investigate one last time. On this side, the thugs continued to become long-term customers of the hospital. When Bong-Soo's mother visited Min-hyuk, she heard that the thugs were also hospitalized. Bong-Soo's mother immediately rushed into the hospital room. She asked who stabbed Min-hyuk, but she hit the wrong person. After Bong-Soo's mother realized she had hit the wrong person, she immediately reconfirmed the target. She turned to the culprit who stabbed Min-hyuk, but at this time, he was extremely miserable, so Bong-Soo's mother showed mercy and temporarily let him go. Finally, she turned to beat the boss. But before Bong-Soo's mother could do anything, Min-hyuk's father rushed in to take her place. The boss was beaten up for beating Min-hyuk. Min-hyuk. In the end, the boss had to be hospitalized as well. On this side, Guk-doo went to the scrapyard and met the real culprit. He pretended to be a customer to investigate the culprit. Guk-doo asked that guy to check the car, while he went around alone to observe the terrain. When Guk-doo was about to enter the secret room, the murderer called Guk-doo back and informed him that he had finished checking and the car had no problems. On the way back to the police station, Guk-doo thought a lot about this case. The more Guk-doo thought, the more certain he was that the murderer was. But Guk-doo still did not have any solid evidence. On this side, because Bong-Soon felt guilty, she stayed at the hospital to take care of Min-hyuk. Here, Min-hyuk told her about the accident years ago. Bong-Soon heard that and remembered. She remembered that memory very clearly because she had pulled the car until her new shoes were torn. After that, Bong-Soon's parents brought rice for the two of them. She mixed the rice and fed it to Min-hyuk. But before Min-hyuk could eat a bite, Bong-ki rushed in to stop him. Bong-ki forced Min-hyuk to become a vegetarian so that his wound would heal quickly. After that, Bong-ki ate a piece of rice right in front of Min-hyuk. Min-hyuk had to sit and watch Bong-Soon's family eat mixed rice. After Bong-Soon sent her parents home, she returned to her room to take care of Min-hyuk. She washed her hair and carefully dried Min-hyuk's hair. Min-hyuk gently grabbed Bong-Soon's hand, and the two quietly looked at each other. Everyone thought that they would have a passionate kiss, but Min-hyuk quickly returned to bed because he didn't want to make Bong-Soon feel awkward. The two returned to their own space. Min-hyuk looked at Bong-Soon. He felt so lucky to have had the chance to meet her. Bong-Soon felt his gaze, so she suddenly opened her eyes. The two just looked at each other like that, but no one said anything to each other. The feelings between Min-hyuk and Bong-Soon were gradually changing. On this side, after the superior heard Guk-doo's opinion, he secretly sent someone to follow the murderer. At the same time, Bong-Soon was also invited to identify the murderer through voice. After listening carefully, Bong-Soon was sure that the voice she heard was that of the murderer. Bong-Soon and Guk-doo had just stepped out of the interrogation room when both of them heard that the police had caught the murderer. However, it was not the real murderer. Bong-Soon felt uneasy when returning to the hospital with Min-hyuk. When Min-hyuk saw her sadly returning, Min-hyuk tried to make a joke. In the end, Min-hyuk succeeded in making Bong-Soon smile. On this side, because the police had not yet caught the real murderer, Guk-doo went to the scrapyard to look for the murderer. Here, the two had a conflict with each other. The murderer was not Guk-doo's opponent, so Guk-doo easily gained the upper hand. But Guk-doo was stopped by someone else, so Guk-doo angrily left. The murderer really felt that everything was about to be exposed, so he made a plan to deal with Bong-Soon. Because Bong-Soon had seen his face with his rash actions, Guk-doo had to endure the scolding of his superiors. Guk-doo decided to quit his job and broke into the murderer's lair himself. Guk-doo frantically rushed in to search, but Guk-doo was stopped by his teammates. Today, Bong-Soon's mother came to the hospital to take care of Min-hyuk. She made chicken feet for Min-hyuk. She even fed Min-hyuk with her own hands, but this chicken feet dish was really hard to swallow. While Bong-Soon's mother went to get water, Min-hyuk hurriedly begged Bong-ki to take his mother home. Otherwise, Min-hyuk would not die from his injuries, but he could die from the chicken feet. At home, Bong-Soon finally got a good night's sleep, and she even had a dream. In the dream, Bong-Soon transformed into Juliet, and Romeo was Min-hyuk. The two were about to kiss when Bong-Soon was disillusioned by Haena's call. Bong-Soon hurriedly woke up to prepare to go to the company. When Bong-Soon just entered the company, she was greeted with a large wreath and fireworks. It turned out that Bong-Soon had been promoted to become an official employee. To congratulate Bong-Soon, Min-hyuk even went out to buy a new bag for her. Bong-Soon was happy because she was about to say goodbye to the princess desk, but Min-hyuk had designed a sign for Bong-Soon. Min-hyuk asked Bong-Soon to stay in the same place to work. Today, Bong-Soon also met the head of her department. Unexpectedly, that person's appearance was exactly like the fortune teller her mother often saw. When Bong-Soon just stepped out of the door, she was called out by the head of the department to talk privately. It turned out that the head of the department also admired Min-hyuk. Bong-Soon was called out so that the head of the department could show off his power. The show-off in front of her made Bong-Soon feel really scared. Bong-Soon mustered up her courage to ask if the department head had a twin brother, but the department head just looked at Bong-Soon and then turned away. Now Bong-Soon had to follow the department head to learn, but it seemed like the department head didn't want to teach Bong-Soon. The department head also forced Bong-Soon to make coffee for him. Not only that, he also did all kinds of things in front of Bong-Soon. Bong-Soon couldn't stand it anymore. She immediately pushed the table and pressed the department head against the wall. When the department head was pressed against the wall, he immediately screamed miserably, but Bong-Soon ignored him and went out. She happily went to drink coffee with Min-hyuk. She didn't care about the department head, who was still stuck there. After a while, the department head shouted for people to pull the table out, and he was finally free. On this side, Bong-Soon also heard the conversation between the assistant and Min-hyuk. Bong-Soon was very curious. Why could Min-hyuk block a knife for her when he always cherished his body as his life? When Bong-Soon was about to get the answer, the door suddenly opened. opened, making her almost fall. Bong-Soon took Min-hyuk home. When Bong-Soon was about to leave, Min-hyuk pulled her back. Min-hyuk lay on Bong-Soon's lap and quickly fell asleep. When he woke up, Min-hyuk couldn't find Bong-Soon, so he went to her house. After Min-hyuk met Bong-Soon, he boldly put her hand on his heart and confessed, "I like you." Bong-Soon also felt that every time she met Min-hyuk, her heart beat very fast. But Bong-Soon still couldn't answer right away. She needed time to sort out her feelings. The next day, Bong-Soon went to work in a confused mood. When Bong-Soon just entered the company, she had to endure the torment of the department head. He forced Bong-Soon to move 10 cardboard boxes into the room. For Bong-Soon, this was just a small matter. With just one trip, she was able to carry 10 boxes of paper. The 10 boxes were delivered to the astonishment of the department head. He couldn't believe his eyes, so he immediately decided to check it out for himself. The department head immediately went to Bong-Soon and asked if she was the one who pushed the table. He also asked who she was. Bong-Soon immediately replied that she was an alien. This answer made the department head go crazy. This afternoon, Min-hyuk will hold a press conference. Here, Min-hyuk will dispel rumors about his sexuality. When Min-hyuk saw Bong-Soon, he immediately approached and held her hand in front of everyone. After that, he took her to lunch. Today, Bong-Soon suddenly felt that Min-hyuk was strangely handsome, so she kept looking at him. While the two were enjoying their own world, two other people came and broke the happy atmosphere. The department head sitting next to him kept talking about how scary Bong-Soon was. Min-hyuk didn't care when he heard that. He still happily ate with Bong-Soon. Suddenly, Bong-Soon felt that the department head was interesting, so she gave him a piece of jewelry she made herself. The department head opened his mouth wide, looking at the bracelet made by Bong-Soon. Bong-Soon also promised that next time she would give the department head a beautiful necklace. After saying that, Bong-Soon happily left. While Bong-Soon was preparing to leave work, she received a call from Guk-doo. Guk-doo asked Bong-Soon to go out for coffee, but Guk-doo didn't come to the meeting place because he suddenly received a call informing him that the next target of the murderer was his ex-lover. Guk-doo worriedly went to look for his ex-lover, but Guk-doo saw that she was still safe and happy with Bong-ki. On this side, Min-hyuk also knew that Bong-Soon went to meet Guk-doo. Min-hyuk immediately went there, but when he arrived, Min-hyuk only saw Bong-Soon sitting there alone. Min-hyuk mustered up his courage and asked Bong-Soon if she could like him. Then Min-hyuk reached out to her. Seeing that, Bong-Soon really wanted to agree, but she was afraid of her identity. Because Bong-Soon was not an ordinary person, she felt very insecure about herself every time she received a confession. When Min-hyuk saw the hesitation of the person he liked, he hugged Bong-Soon directly. Finally, Bong-Soon accepted Min-hyuk's confession. The two officially dated. They became the most adorable couple on Korean screens. Min-hyuk happily took Bong-Soon home. Min-hyuk reminded her not to regret her decision. After saying that, Min-hyuk ran away. After Min-hyuk left, Guk-doo also came to find Bong-Soon. Bong-Soon did not expect Guk-doo to confess to her. After hearing that, Bong-Soon rejected the confession of the person she used to like. The next day was the first day Bong-Soon and Min-hyuk officially fell in love. The two were so close that the department head was red with anger. On this side, the murderer had already started to attack his ex-lover and Guk-doo, but the police had arranged for someone to secretly protect her. However, the murderer had already prepared. He had misled the police that his next target was Guk-doo's ex-lover. But in reality, the murderer attacked Haena. On this side, Min-hyuk and Bong-Soon were on a date in a noodle shop. Min-hyuk told Bong-Soon that she couldn't call him director anymore, but Bong-Soon said that they weren't even dating anymore. Min-hyuk was shocked and shouted loudly when he heard that. Finally, he was woken up by Bong-Soon. When Bong-Soon got home, she happily told her best friend the story, but Bong-Soon didn't know that the person who replied to the message was the murderer. Bong-Soon also shared a secret about her strength with her best friend. Bong-Soon will lose his power if he hurts innocent people. After the murderer knew that secret, he smiled coldly. Finally, he found a way to deal with Bong-Soon. When Bong-Soon saw how her best friend texted today, she felt a little strange, but she didn't care too much. Bong-Soon turned to send a photo to wish Min-hyuk good night. This made Min-hyuk so happy that he couldn't sleep. The next day, Bong-Soon happily went to work as usual. When Bong-Soon just entered the company, she saw Min-hyuk designing an action game for herself. The department head felt jealous when he saw that, but he was immediately scared by Bong-Soon. During working hours, Min-hyuk and Bong-Soon went out on a date again. Min-hyuk pushed Bong-Soon against the wall. After Bong-Soon was pushed against the wall, Min-hyuk felt like he was going crazy. Min-hyuk was crazy because of Bong-Soon's cuteness. Min-hyuk kept shaking her back and forth and then stroking her hair. He secretly thought that his lover was so cute. Bong-Soon looked at those actions and was helpless. She immediately pulled Min-hyuk out, but he pulled her back and kissed her. Then he let her go. They not only secretly dated at the company, but Min-hyuk also took Bong-Soon to a secret place to date. It was a place with a vast ocean view. Bong-Soon was also given a handsome man by the window. Unexpectedly, she ignored the handsome man and only cared about the beautiful scenery. Min-hyuk thought he brought her here to date. However, Bong-Soon took out her computer to work. When Min-hyuk saw her working attentively, he couldn't stand it and pulled her out to go on a date. The two went to the market together together and watched the sea. Along the way, Bong-Soon jumped happily like a baby bird. Min-hyuk saw his lover so happy and smiled. The two took pictures together, drew hearts on the beach, and then they gave each other their first kiss. When Bong-Soon got home, she immediately called her best friend, but no one answered. Bong-Soon remembered Hae-na's strange behavior recently, so she immediately called Guk-doo to ask him to find Hae-na's location. Bong-Soon also texted Hae-na about an unknown person. The answer she received made Bong-Soon sure that something had happened to Hae-na. Here, the police found Hae-na's belongings that she had dropped when she was kidnapped. They immediately went to the scrapyard to search despite warnings from their superiors. The perpetrator realized that his actions had been exposed, so he sent a video to threaten Bong-Soon. He said that if Bong-Soon wanted Hae-na to live, she should quickly come find him. Bong-Soon went to Min-hyuk's house that night. Bong-Soon cried and told Min-hyuk everything. At the same time, Bong-Soon begged Min-hyuk to help her find Hae-na. Min-hyuk was heartbroken when he saw Bong-Soon's miserable appearance. Min-hyuk hugged Bong-Soon and promised to find her a friend. The two of them couldn't sleep all night. The next morning, Bong-Soon calmed down. She sat down and carefully analyzed the video. She hoped she could find some clues. Heaven really does not disappoint those who have good intentions. After finding the clues, Bong-Soon immediately ran to the junkyard to look for someone. After a while of searching, she finally discovered the door leading to the secret room. Bong-Soon immediately rushed into the secret room, but through the camera, the murderer had already seen all of Bong-Soon's actions. He knocked Hae-na out and hid Hae-na somewhere else. After that, he ordered his subordinates to spread gasoline and prepare to burn the secret room. After Bong-Soon went down to the secret room, Bong-Soon quickly let the girls out, but Bong-Soon still couldn't find Hae-na. Upstairs, the thug lit the fire, causing the secret room to explode. But thanks to her extraordinary strength, Bong-Soon successfully escaped the fire and saved the girls. The subordinate was also promptly captured by Guk-doo. After Min-hyuk knew that Bong-Soon went to the scrapyard alone to find someone and an accident happened, the two had a big argument. Each had their own reasons, so neither would give in, and they said hurtful words to each other. Later, while Bong-Soon was working, she received a call from a strange number. It turned out that the murderer had called. He made a condition that if Bong-Soon wanted to save her best friend, she had to become his bride. Bong-Soon quickly agreed and made an appointment to meet in the evening. Bong-Soon wrote a leave of absence note to Min-hyuk. Then she went home to prepare her luggage to the designated location. Meanwhile, Min-hyuk at home knew Bong-Soon's location, so he immediately called Guk-doo for help. When Bong-Soon arrived, she saw the murderer preparing to strangle her friend to death. Bong-Soon immediately rushed to save Hae-na and pushed the murderer down, but the person who was pushed down was not the murderer, but just a substitute. He took advantage of Bong-Soon's weakness, which was not to harm innocent people. For that reason, Bong-Soon lost his strength. This time the real murderer was revealed. He pointed the gun at Bong-Soon, but luckily, Min-hyuk arrived in time. The murderer and Min-hyuk immediately rushed into a fight. Thanks to regular practice, Min-hyuk quickly gained the upper hand in the fight. Min-hyuk beat the murderer and forced him to run away in the car. After Guk-doo received the news, he also came to the rescue. Min-hyuk quickly fired a few shots at the murderer, and Guk-doo immediately got in the car to chase the murderer. The two created a fierce chase, but because the murderer lost control, he drove the car into the river and disappeared. After the murderer ran away, Min-hyuk quickly ran to Bong-Soon, but Bong-Soon was unconscious. Min-hyuk painfully hugged her home and took care of her all night. After many storms, the two hugged and made peace. The next morning, Min-hyuk took Bong-Soon home to reunite with his family. From Hae-na's words, the family knew that Bong-Soon had lost her strength, and now Bong-Soon had become a normal person. Although Bong-Soon could not accept the truth, she promised herself to try to adapt to her new life. Bong-Soon continued to go to work, but she could no longer carry 10 cardboard boxes like before. When Min-hyuk saw this, he immediately comforted her. He told Bong-Soon to trust him in the future and learn to rely on her lover. Bong-Soon laughed when she heard that, which made Min-hyuk feel relieved. The two returned to their daily lives. They worked together, hold hands, and walk around the city together, go shopping together, and they also tease each other like any other couple to help Bong-Soon feel better. Min-hyuk also took her on a picnic. Today, Bong-Soon woke up early to prepare bento for Min-hyuk. However, when they arrived at the picnic spot, the heart broke in half. Min-hyuk saw that and smiled and said that she was so cute. The two had really happy moments together. However, will this happiness last long? When the real murderer is still alive and he is planning to prepare for a general attack, the murderer cut his hair. He broke into Min-hyuk's company as a reporter. He successfully entered. However, the murderer was quickly discovered by Guk-doo, who happened to pass by him. The murderer quickly grabbed a female employee to threaten her. Then he ran into the elevator. Guk-doo quickly informed Min-hyuk. Min-hyuk immediately ordered all exits to be blocked. The killer planted a bomb in the building. He challenged Min-hyuk that Min-hyuk must find him. If not, the killer would blow up the entire building in 15 minutes. Min-hyuk quickly evacuated everyone and then ran to find the killer. Meanwhile, the killer knocked out his assistant and kidnapped Bong-Soon. He dragged Bong-Soon to the rooftop. Then he tied her with iron chains chains and attached a bomb to her. After everything was done, the killer locked the door and locked Bong-Soon on the rooftop and left. Min-hyuk quickly ran up there, but the door was locked. At this time, Bong-Soon inside also began to wake up. Bong-Soon panicked and shouted for Min-hyuk to leave her alone and run, but Min-hyuk ignored Bong-Soon's pleas. Min-hyuk tried to break the door, but still had no results. Min-hyuk broke the door until he was exhausted. Min-hyuk's hands were covered in blood. Even so, Min-hyuk still knocked on the door and comforted Bong-Soon, who was begging inside. Min-hyuk promised that if he couldn't break the door, he would still be here. Min-hyuk would always be by Bong-Soon's side and would die with her. As soon as he finished speaking, Min-hyuk was exhausted and passed out. Inside, Bong-Soon prayed for her strength to return so she could save the person she loved, and Bong-Soon's request was answered by the gods. Bong-Soon's strength returned. Bong-Soon quickly broke the iron chains and threw the bomb into the sky. Finally, Bong-Soon and Min-hyuk were safe. The two hugged each other happily and then held hands as they walked downstairs. When Min-hyuk affectionately called Bong-Soon's name, her stomach suddenly growled. Because Bong-Soon had used too much strength just now, she felt a little hungry. Min-hyuk laughed and quickly took her out to eat. Min-hyuk drove Bong-Soon home. Min-hyuk wanted to say something, but stopped. When Min-hyuk and Bong-Soon got home, both of them thought about what had happened. They both felt that they loved each other more than their lives. While Min-hyuk was lost in his own thoughts, the phone rang. It turned out to be Bong-Soon. That very night, she ran to Min-hyuk's house and expressed her longing. The two of them kissed passionately again. Now they were no longer shy and freely expressed their affection in public. Bong-Soon went up to the rooftop, holding the iron chain, and swore that she would catch the culprit herself. After that, Bong-Soon went down to the cafe below the company to meet Guk-doo. Bong-Soon told Guk-doo about what happened that day. Bong-Soon also said that she and Min-hyuk were in love. Guk-doo felt sad when he heard that, but he quickly accepted the truth. Guk-doo asked if he could hug her. Bong-Soon quickly agreed. The scene of the two hugging was caught by the assistant. He immediately told Min-hyuk about it. The two of them even reenacted the hugging scene. Bong-Soon was quickly called back by Min-hyuk. Min-hyuk originally intended to scold her a few words, but unexpectedly, she kissed him. This sweet action of Bong-Soon made Min-hyuk forget his intention. At this moment, Min-hyuk was just immersed in happiness. Min-hyuk completely forgot about Bong-Soon hugging another man. After that, Min-hyuk stopped being angry and took Bong-Soon out to eat. Min-hyuk realized that he could not be angry with Bong-Soon, so he immediately changed the target of his anger to Guk-doo. The two made an appointment to go drinking, but they had only said a few words when they rushed to grab each other's collars. At that moment, Bong-Soon walked in. Under Bong-Soon's pressure, the two boys calmed down and sat down. Instead of continuing to fight, they switched to drinking. In the end, Bong-Soon had to carry the two drunkards home. After the perpetrator escaped, he was wanted nationwide. In order to avoid being caught, he hid in the house for several days. Finally, when the murderer could not bear it anymore, he went to the black market to buy a sniper rifle. As soon as the murderer left, the gun seller informed Min-hyuk about his hideout. The three people immediately raised their guard. They reported to the police to find a way to deal with it. The next day, the murderer called Bong-Soon. When Bong-Soon heard his voice, she immediately provoked him, and obviously, the murderer quickly fell into the trap. The two quickly made an appointment to meet tonight. The location was where Bong-Soon had previously lost his power. Bong-Soon quickly informed Min-hyuk and Guk-doo about the appointment. When the time came, Bong-Soon went to the meeting place alone. The two men had arrived and were lying in wait early. The murderer quickly dealt with Bong-Soon and fled. Min-hyuk quickly ran out to check that Bong-Soon was safe because they had prepared in advance. After that, Min-hyuk teamed up with Guk-doo to catch the killer. Min-hyuk was responsible for monitoring the killer from afar, and Guk-doo could follow his instructions to chase the killer. After the killer walked into the trap they had set, Bong-Soon quickly pushed the container, creating a dead end. Then Bong-Soon jumped up to face the killer directly. Bong-Soon quickly pulled out a few walnuts. She threw the walnuts at him with all her strength. Killer quickly ran away, but he was stopped by Min-hyuk and Guk-doo. Now the killer had no way out. Bong-Soon slowly chased after him, throwing the dog cage right at the killer. At this point, he could only wait to be caught. After that, the three of them handed over everything to the police, and then they leisurely left. In the end, the killer could not escape punishment of the law. He was sentenced to life in prison. Everything returned to its normal course. One fine day, Min-hyuk went to Bong-Soon's father to drink. Here, Min-hyuk asked permission to marry Bong-Soon. He quickly received consent from her father. Because he was too happy, Bong-Soon's father got drunk. He was taken home by Min-hyuk. When Bong-Soon's mother saw her son-in-law coming, she quickly invited him into the house. She also told him to sleep here. When Min-hyuk and Bong-Soon were about to kiss, her mother suddenly walked in, making the two of them feel awkward. Min-hyuk quickly ran home. The next day, Bong-Soon had a presentation about the game she created. Bong-Soon did not disappoint everyone's expectations. Her game was quickly approved by the board of directors. The product will be released as soon as possible. After that incident, Bong-Soon also promised herself that she would use her strength to help people. Bong-Soon transformed into a hidden hero. She secretly dealt with the pervert who specialized in scaring female students. she also carried the elephant back to the zoo. However, because she did too many good deeds, Bong-Soon was constantly late for work. The department head saw this and reported it to Min-hyuk. After that, Bong-Soon returned to her intern status. Bong-Soon also happily accepted because she had fulfilled her dream. Now, she wanted to spend more time helping people. Bong-Soon and Min-hyuk were intimate in front of the assistant. This scene made a single person like the assistant feel uncomfortable, so he had to go out. On a sunny and windy day, Min-hyuk put a ring on Bong-Soon's finger. It symbolized promise to be together for the rest of their lives. The wedding was quickly held. The girl Min-hyuk loved officially became the only wife in his life. Bong-Soon quickly became pregnant. To protect the peace of her son-in-law, Bong-Soon's mother prayed for Bong-Soon to conceive a son. Buddha just smiled when he saw that, but the unexpected thing happened. Bong-Soon successfully gave birth to 2 daughters. Min-hyuk quickly contacted the mafia boss. Min-hyuk asked him to send his subordinates, who could take the best beatings, to be nannies for his daughters. However, those special nannies could not last more than a day, so everything came back to Min-hyuk. As expected, Min-hyuk was punched in the eye by his daughter. Min-hyuk quickly called Bong-Soon for help but was unsuccessful. The movie ends here. See you again in the next videos.